This episode is sponsored by AI, your superpower. If your business feels stuck or overwhelmed, the answer isn't working harder. It is working smarter with AI. Take our free personalized assessment, the AI Opportunity Finder, and discover exactly how AI can save you time, boost profits, and simplify your operations. Plus, get our exclusive AI toolkit to help you start fast. Visit start.aiyoursuperpower.com to find your best AI opportunities and book your free discovery call. Hello, hello, and welcome back to Happiness by Habit, where we craft joy, clarity, and results one day at a time. And guess what? We are officially kicking off the second season, and this time we're focusing on how AI can become your superpower, not just in business, but in life. Our guest today is someone who I admire. She's a powerhouse in B2B marketing strategy and best-selling author. A woman who knows how to cut through the noise and build real measurable growth. I'm talking about the one and only Heidi Hattendorf, fractional CMO, transformation strategist, and the brilliant mind behind the marketing growth formula. She helps founders and executive teams stop spinning their wheels and start seeing results. No fluff, just clear positioning, a practical go-to-market strategies and sustainable marketing systems. So welcome to the show, dear Heidi.
Thank you so much, Silvana. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy. Let's talk. Let's start with your story. You have a beautiful story. You've worked across Fortune hundreds, mid markets, SaaS, and fast growing startups. What sparked your journey into strategic marketing, and how has your personal journey shaped the way you approach growth today?
Yeah, it's a great starting point. I've worked, like you said, I've worked with Fortune 100 companies, SaaS companies that were growing quickly, and then even working with startups. And one of the things that I've noticed across all is it doesn't matter the company size, the industry. What's most important is starting with that foundational strategy. And by that, what I mean is who are you targeting? Who's your core ideal customer profile? What problem do you or your company solve for that customer? And then why you? How are you different? What is it that you bring? And then what results does that customer get because of using your service or your solution? And so I just find those fundamental core tenets are the same regardless of size, industry. And yet it's often quickly worked through or it's not updated. And so that's the gap that I saw. And that's really where I thrive and what I enjoy doing the most with my consulting business is working with clients on getting clarity on those elements before diving into all the great tools in AI or all the new modern playbooks, but just getting really clear on some of those key points up front.
Oh, I love it. You often work with founders who've tried everything, but they feel stuck. What are the biggest mistakes companies make when trying to scale their marketing? And what's that first thing you do when you try to bring clarity?
Yeah, a lot of times see two opposite ends of the spectrum. One is companies that have sort of given up on marketing and they just try to do everything through referrals or word of mouth because they just are overwhelmed by the different tools. The other extreme is they are overspending, let's say in one area, or they're trying to model something that they've seen, let's say for someone online or someone's tried to sell them a big program very focused just in one area that may or may not match what they're doing. And so when companies are either overstretched, overwhelmed, trying everything, come back to, again, what is it that they're trying to provide? What problems do they solve? And then where are those customers showing up? What's the most effective channel for them today? And I say today because it could be that something that they're doing from 2, 3 years ago that's always worked is no longer working. And one great example is, smaller businesses that don't really have a big digital presence, right? And they think, well, I don't need that. I meet enough people face to face. Or it could be a large company that is just going along with their tools and they've got these complex workflows, but it's not really working because they're just so tied up in the technology. So those are two great examples that I see all the time where really just need to get back to who are we trying to reach? What problem do we solve? And then how can we do this better than others in the market?
Interesting. Your book is called The Marketing Growth Formula. What is that formula? Can you walk us through the core pillars of what makes the marketing actually work, especially in today's noisy landscape?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I was first starting to write it, there's so many books on, let's say, marketing or specific tactics or AI. And I thought, I really want to do that more comprehensive view on taking someone through the entire journey. And so I look at it that really it's mapping out what are some of the timeless strategies that are going to be so fundamental to business, regardless of the latest tools, latest playbooks, latest AI, having that in mind first, and then scaling and pairing it with the deeper technologies and being able to accelerate, looking at the go to market motions, looking at the right channels to play in. So it's really that pairing of the two, the timeless strategies meet modern playbooks and the right technology. Those two things coming together is really where the power comes in.
Yeah, very important because technologies can make a big difference. And let's talk about AI now that you mention it. And this season theme is AI as your superpower. How do you see AI reshaping the marketing landscape right now, and how are your clients using it in practical, effective ways?
Yeah, it's everywhere and it's going to continue. It's everywhere, especially in marketing too, because it can repurpose. Let's say that we've got long form content like a blog or a podcast, and then being able to repurpose that into smaller pieces. I mean, that's a really basic example, but for my clients, a lot of them are using it at all different levels. So it could be to enrich data. So you get a list, but it's not really perfect in terms of contact information or even industry. Job roles have changed. So getting that right data is so important up front. I also find that sometimes clients are using, let's say, ads, or they're going to an event, but they don't really have a great way to distill that information later. So AI is perfect for that. No longer do companies need to manually enter this information, manually work with it, but instead tie the data across the different platforms and use it more effectively. And then the third example I would give you is just in terms of that thinking partner. So some strategic thinking, working together with a large language model and LLM, understanding that and being able to really look at what's going to be the best positioning. I guess another example too is around search. So, sometimes we see these clickbait headlines, oh, SEO is dead. But in reality, it's more about being discovered. How can you be discovered in the way that AI will find you? And so I think that's the way of looking at it is it's become more sophisticated. So rather than only worrying about keywords, which is all we had before, now it can be these phrases. It's being the answer to the question that's coming up. Non-traditional channels are certainly emerging, and it's staying current with that. And so what I always tell my clients and prospects too is that you don't have to try to stay up on all of that. Just partner with somebody who's got that expertise that can help you use all of the right channels, all of the latest tech. But those are some specific examples.
Yeah, I love the examples you gave because they are more focused about the strategies, not so much necessarily in the tactics of marketing. And I would love to dig in a little bit on the last point you mentioned, which is kind of my area of expertise, and I love that topic, which is the fact of now people, our customers, are not necessarily asking or looking for solutions in the regular or traditional way, like looking something up on Google, but instead a lot of them are going into AI tools and asking for any specific services. For instance, people can go to ChatGPT, who is the best marketing strategist in, be said, in Texas, in any place. And then the trick there, or the strategy there, is how do you show up there? And it's a totally different
Mm,
um, strategy for that, right?
it is.
And it's you can make a difference definitely because when you align yourself to show up on those searches from AI tools, then you can actually basically just stop competing for attention, and then you start just receiving new customers constantly that come from the source. Very interesting. Heidi. You talk a lot about aligning marketing to measurable income outcomes. Can you share an example where you help a company stop wasting time and disconnect on disconnected tactics and finally build a system that supported real growth?
Yeah, I see this a lot where, companies are trying and they're out there and they're investing in marketing. A lot of times they're investing in sales, but maybe not as much in marketing. And so what I've seen is that if you're going to an event or you're doing ads or you're putting content out there, do you have a system to be able to work with that? And so it's really being able to look at a repeatable, methodical system so that they can scale and so that the business can work effectively without them. And what I mean by that is that it's repeatable, it's working around the clock. And so one of the examples is working with a client that had very good on referrals and word of mouth. Everyone knew this company. But meanwhile, their competitors had such a strong digital presence. And they were being sold, these really expensive packages with different tools, but they weren't really sure what to do. So I was able to come in as a fractional marketing expert to help them to align what is it that they're trying to say, how are they trying to compete, and what's going to be most effective in the market. They were up against some much larger players. So we leaned into the fact that they were small, very agile, able to provide that more personalized service. So really leaned into the human element of it, but also set up a completely different digital system, moved them into some AI tools, made it so that they were more visible online and they could get into those right conversations that they wouldn't have been able to before. So we're able to really cut the budget that they would have spent on expensive ads because they didn't really have a way to capture the demand and the interest coming from those. And some time on their systems, phenomenally successful. They're able to see so much growth. They ended up also cross-selling to their current customers on some new product lines. And they had just thought of those as past customers. But once we reframed it into, no, these could still be current customers. They may need now your newer products or services. It was absolutely a game changer. So just that reframing, working with them, still using the modern tools and playbooks, but first coming back to what is it that they were trying to achieve and how are they better than others out there in the market and different. It's just about being different out in the market.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for the small to mid-sized businesses to use the AI as a growth accelerator in the new year?
There's so many opportunities. I would say to start with being able to be that answer to someone's question. So really embracing the idea that search has changed. Starting with that. Okay. And so I would say that's a really good place to start. Make sure you have an FAQ on your website. Make sure that you're putting out relevant content. I think that's the other thing too in our attention-driven society. There's so much about quick hits and, putting something out there quick on social media. But what about the longer form, telling your story, being able to do video, being able to write some articles that articulate a little bit more about what you stand for, what your company can provide? That's also definitely feeding into AI and feeding the right search engines. And then I would say using AI as that strategic thinking partner, bouncing off some headlines or some outlines for some of the work being done. Don't just generate purely AI content that's going to sound generic and like everyone else, but use it more as a thinking partner. Have AI go out to figure out, well, how would you position against some of the other companies out there? So use it more to your advantage, more strategically. That's what I would advise for sure.
Oh, yes, I love that because with AI at our fingerprints, we have available the most brilliant minds right there in our phones. I mean, we can ask anything pretty much. And yes, it's matter of asking how we ask the questions actually is very important because if we ask, instead of asking like a yes or no questions or like expecting a specific answer, like a Google search, I would say,
Yeah.
like just as a search engine, that's gonna limit the results. But if we ask it like a strategy, like what should we do based on this information? Think of it like if you were a marketing strategist, or think of it like if you were the expert on such and such. So the way we ask the questions is gonna definitely impact the answer, and that's
Hmm.
very critical. And nowadays, AI, the good thing is that it's changing in a way where we don't need to be experts about prompting. Like you can actually manage it like a conversation, right? It's
Right.
much more fluent. So that's a very powerful tool.
It's a great point on the conversation side of it. Whether you're talking to a customer with AI, it's really about engaging, iterating, building on what you've already discovered and that foundation.
Iterating is crucial. That's a good point, Haiti, because a lot of times we just get an answer and perhaps it's not good enough and we just go with that. But we can go back and say, well, that's not good enough. What about this? Or have you thought about this? So or consider that this is a case, this customer is so and so. So the more information we give and the more we iterate, we are gonna improve our the quality of our answers. So that's very, very good. Wonderful, Heidi. So let's go into the lightning round. I'm gonna ask you a few questions and you tell me a quick
All right,
answer.
let's do it. Let's
All
go.
right, let's do it. A tool or habit that has changed your life.
You know, I was thinking about this in terms of what really changes, and I would say it's the priority. So having focus and priority and being able to have that decision filter, and especially with running my own business, it's even more critical. Not just filling up your calendar, but being very precise, focused priority.
That's a very good one. And I would like to add to that is that the tools themselves are not going to make a difference. It's how we use them and what we do with them, right? So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
I love that. A quote or mantra you live by.
Here's one that I put into my book that I really love, which is everyone's trying to come up with what's the perfect message. And I say the perfect message is the one that resonates with your market. It's that simple.
That's simple. I love it. A book every founder should read.
Well, of course, I'm going to say the marketing growth formula. I'm a little biased on that, but I'll also add to Atomic Habits by James Clear. Love
Oh
that
yeah,
book.
that's
It's
it.
really that the idea of just continuous improvement, but also structuring. It comes back to that idea of structuring and systems so that you can achieve success. So he does it in a really practical way.
I love that book too. And yours? Awesome.
Oh, thank you.
What brings you joy outside of work?
Yeah, that's an easy one. So definitely my faith, family, really important. And I feel like, the work that I do through my business is helping people with their business and that rising tides lift all boats. So definitely that's really important to me. And then also just, I love spending time on the water. I'm in South Florida,
Mm,
access to a lot of water, in Aquarius. So it all just comes together so well. And I just find a lot of joy with that with my family.
yes, I love South Florida. I used to live in South Florida too, like in Miami area. That's beautiful.
Beautiful blue
I am
water.
with you. Yeah,
You're right
yeah.
there with me,
That's
right?
absolutely totally get you. Final question. This show is about crafting happiness, not by luck, but by habit. What's
Mhm.
the one habit that helps you stay grounded, focused, and joyful, especially in seasons of change?
So important. There's several, but I would say just really taking time to have that strategic thought process. So I do a lot with my calendar. I block time. I'm making sure that I've got time for my clients, time, but also time for myself, for exercise, for strategic work, but also getting work done, thinking about the future, not just reacting. So really coming down to the habit of creating the time, creating the space to be able to have that more thoughtful reflection and also planning. So important. That's what I would share.
Yeah, very important. All what you say is really cool and
Thank
crucial.
you. Oh, thank
Alrighty.
you.
I enjoyed so much this conversation. Thank you so much for your wisdom, your clarity, and your contagious calm. You truly show us how that strategy can be simple, scalable, and soulful. To our listeners, if today's conversation sparked ideas for your next move or gave you the courage to let go of what is not working, that's the goal. Marketing doesn't have to feel like chaos. It can feel aligned, powered, and even joyful with the right guide. Thank you so much, and be sure to connect with Heidi on LinkedIn or grab her book, The Marketing Growth Formula, and check out her site at Hattendorf.com. I will make sure to put that in the notes as well. And hey, if you love this episode, share it with a fellow founder or leader who is ready to work smarter. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a practical magic episode on this season, and we'll keep showing up with heart habits, and high impact insights to help you automate with intention and live with joy. Thank you so much. Bye bye.